Yeah. Good morning. My name is Esther Nystrom. I'm the Vice President for AIEA. Thank you for being here this morning. And I'm also the Program Specialist for Mesa Public Schools Native American Education Program. So,
Thank you, Esther. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Thomas. Jerry Inisha, Sitna Jenny Inishland, though the Betlejina Bashichin, Tabahan Dashichin do Hashklishni Rashanale. I am Navajo and I work at the Intertribal Council of Arizona here in Phoenix and as the Healthy Native Youth Specialist, but I'm also the AIEA Secretary.
And good morning, everybody. It's good to see everyone's faces. Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to meet in person. I'm very encouraged that we're finally rolling out a vaccine and to protect our educators, our Native educators. That's a priority for Arizona. And I definitely would encourage you and your friends and family, when they are eligible to take the vaccine, to please take advantage of that opportunity. There's a lot of misperceptions about it, and but I have plenty of physician friends, plenty of nurse friends who, trust that the clinical trials were safe and effective, and the vaccine is something that will protect you from this pandemic. My name is Travis Lane. I'm the Assistant Director for Intertribal Council of Arizona. I'm Navajo and Southern Ute. I'm member of the Navajo Nation. And I currently serve as the Treasurer for AIEA. And thank you, Kim, for that land acknowledgement. I do live in Tempe, so I do want to acknowledge the lands of the Acamil Peeposh people and the O'odham people who have inhabited this land since time immemorial. So good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Yate. Shaylin and Yazian, Shiato Hedlin National Dom, Idesh Gizni Bashin, Tatnezani the Shachedo, Kiani Dashanella, Jinlit Nasha. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our monthly AIEA meeting. My name is Linan Yazi. I am currently serving as the co-secretary, taking care of communications. So I send out the emails on behalf of AIEA. And I'm also the Native American specialist with Phoenix Union High School District and oversee the Native American Education Program. I'm also the co-chair for I am the chair of the Indian Education Advisory Council. And so I just wanted to welcome everybody here today and ditto to what Travis just said about the vaccinations. And later on, we talk about program updates and share outs. Our school district just committed to providing vaccination sites. And so I'll share more information about that later in the meeting. So thank you and welcome again.
Jerry, if you don't mind just calling out those on the participants list just to make a quick introduction.
Okay, sure. So the next person in line is going to be John Bastian.
Hi, everyone. I hope your week is going well for you. My name is John Bastian. I work at Rio Salado College as the coordinator of student life, and happy to be here. Thanks, everybody, for welcoming me. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for being here. Next, we have Melody Lopez.
No, Melody on Matsiwa, Epkita Hopi. Good morning, I'm Melody Lopez. I need way more caffeine in my life. I'm coming in from Tucson, traditional homelands of Thana O'odham Nation and contemporary homelands of Pasco Yaqui tribe. Good to be here and see everyone.
Thank you, Mel. Next, we have Jacob Moore.
Good morning. My name is Jacob Moore. I'm the Associate Vice President of Tribal Relations for Arizona State University, a citizen of the O'odham Nation. Also have ties to Akmiratham, Gila River on the Gila River side, and then Lakota and Dakota from my mother's side. So it's good to see everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jacob. Next, we have Charissa Sendas.
Good morning. My name is Carissa Sundust. I work with American Indian Outreach at Maricopa Community Colleges. And I'm happy to be here. I'm working on Fridays again, so I can attend meetings more often. So happy to see all of you again.
Yay, thank you. Next, we have Alex.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Benavidez, and I'm from the University of Arizona. I work with Dr. Marty Lindsay at the Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center, and I'm kind of here on her behalf today as she couldn't make it, but just excited to be here, see your guys' faces. I'll share a little bit of the program updates that we have on our end, specifically with a student's journey that works with Donna Otham Community College students. So I'll share that update when we get to it. But again, good morning, and I hope all of you guys are staying safe and healthy.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Katie Parker.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Everyone, before my mic has been going in and out. It's good to see everybody. I see Jacob. Hi, Travis. It's been a long time. And Kim, it's good to see you guys. I am with White River Unified School District. I am the Federal Programs Coordinator. Good news from here is I would say a majority of our population has been receiving their shots, and I believe we're already moving on to the C phase of the vaccinations. So everyone's keeping safe up here, and I hope you guys do too.
Thank you, Katie. That's great to hear. And then next we have Margaret. Okay. You know what? That's fine. We totally understand. But if we'd like, we can then move on to the approval of minutes. Let's see here. So the last meeting, unfortunately, I didn't have the November minutes ready. So, and then also this meeting, I currently would like to make a motion to table the November minutes, just because, I'm almost finished with them, but, unfortunately a phone call came up. So I would like to see if we can table the minutes until next meeting. And I was just wondering if anyone would like to second the motion.
I will second the motion.
Okay.
Jerry, would that include November and December minutes?
Oh, no, this is just for November minutes, but I do have December that I would like to put up afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Jerry, already a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those oppose, abstain. Any discussion? Motion carried. Thank you so much. Okay, Jerry, we're ready for the December minutes.
Okay. I can pull them up right now, and then also I can upload them to the chat box for later viewing. But here, let me pull them up really quick.
Okay, so if everybody can, Jerry, is there a way you can make that a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
And we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to read through, and then we'll call for a motion. Okay, can we get a call for a motion to approve the December meeting minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
I second.
Motion on the floor, Lynn, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move next on the agenda. Okay, next on the agenda is the president's report. And we usually have a PowerPoint that we do, but we didn't get to, I didn't get a chance to update that for this meeting. So my apologies. So I just ask you to, for your patience to bear with me as I do a lot of talking for the next few minutes. Again, I just want to reiterate for those who may have come on a little bit later, just the vaccine is now available. They have started the group 1A, which is your healthcare workers, school nurses, those who work directly with in the health field. And so they just recently opened up, I want to say today, within the past couple of days anyway, for the K through 12 educators. And they've also, in some spaces, have opened it up to higher education staff members. So those in education are considered essential workers. And so just double check with the area that you're at. Again, we want to encourage you, if you feel led to get the vaccine, but that's up to you and your personal choice of what you would like. In the meantime, we just request you continue to follow the safety protocols of masking up when outside of your home or in a public space. Stay 6 feet away from each other and continuously wash your hands. There's all kinds of information that's available out there. Esther has put in our chat box some information about the vaccinations available that will provide information about what type of vaccines and just about information about the vaccine in general. So if you just click on the link, you'll find that information there. As Travis mentioned, according to our elders and on a national level, our tribal elders are viewed as being an elder at age 55 and older. So you might want to double check with that and when you're checking in to see if you qualify or are eligible to receive the vaccine. With that, I want to move into our membership. I want to encourage everybody that our membership is still available. If you have not submitted your membership dues, we humbly request you to do so. This is our income that we get in to help support our organization, our nonprofit organization. As a reminder, our membership is extended through October 31st of this year. We wanted to do that extension just due to the vaccine, I'm sorry, the virus and the pandemic that occurred and us getting out the membership application at a later time than normal. So we have extended membership through October 31st of this year. So this is a good year to become a member of AIEA. Not only that, we provide significant discounts to all of our events and activities, of which we'll talk a little bit more about later in this meeting. The application is available online on our website. It's under itcaonline.com under programs and AIEA. And there is a fillable form that you can provide and submit. With that, I don't have it on our agenda, but I do want to bring out and highlight, we're going to be starting our education webinar series once again. We did this we started it last spring, had a really great turnout for each session, and there was really great topics that was provided for the students and participants that were available to participate. So this year we're going to start that up again, starting at the end of this month, January 29th. And again, we will send out this information to everybody via email who is on our email list. So if you have not been receiving our emails, please drop your email down in the chat box and Jerry will copy that and she'll add, I'm sorry, Lynn will copy that and add you to our email, AIEA email listserv. But January 29th, we're going to be starting our first webinar session. We're going to focus towards helping our students understand what it means to apply for scholarships. We're looking at releasing our scholarship later in the springtime. Hopefully we're looking at April. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our program share outs, but tentatively we're wanting to have, we've got at least January, February, March, and April webinar sessions that are lined up for this webinar series. And we want to focus on helping our students understand more about completing scholarships. So the first one we're going to focus on is how to write an outstanding personal statement. The second one will be talking about how to write a cover letter or resume, how to do a resume. And then the third one will focus on volunteer work and resources that are available to provide volunteer opportunities for the students who do apply for scholarships. A lot of times our students have a hard time trying to come up with volunteer opportunities that they may have done, and they may have already done so, but not really realizing that. But there are other volunteer opportunities out there that they can provide on their scholarship application. So that's what we're going to focus on during our third webinar. And then our final webinar in April, well, not our final, but our fourth one, will focus on filling out the scholarship itself. So that's tentatively what we have lined up. We're very excited about that. And Jerry is heading that up once again as our webinar coordinator and getting those things lined up for us. And so we'll get all that information out once we have it in writing and provide that to you. During that time, we're looking at hoping to have last month in December, the Phoenix Indian Center provided us an intern, a high school intern, to help us with our winter camp. And we'll talk more about that again in the agenda, but I did want to mention we're looking at keeping that intern on possibly throughout our webinar to help us with the webinar series on his downtime. But we'll provide more information about that at a later time as it becomes available as well. I wanted to also mention that there was a really great event held on Wednesday. It was the Indian Nations and Tribes Legislative Day. This is sponsored through the governor's or through the Office of Tribal Relations at the governor's office. It's held every year. This year, they actually went virtually, and there was a joint protocol session that every year they usually have a joint protocol session, and where they have invited tribal leaders and officials to come and address the Congress, both the Senate and the House. And then in the afternoon, there's usually informational sessions provided to those participants who attend. Since this year it was virtual, the joint protocol session included speeches addressing Congress from the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation. President Bernadette was one of the speakers. Also from Fort Mojave Indian Tribe, the Vice President Sean Lewis was one of the speakers, and from the Auction Indian Community Tribal Chairman Robert Miguel was also one of the presenters there. I unfortunately missed that part of the day because I was involved on a national level with the national broadcast that happened, which I'll talk about next. But I was able to join in on the afternoon session, which featured the session of Arizona Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And these were speakers that were from ASU. Actually, Jacob Moore was one of the speakers that was presenting. We had a presenter from the Boeing company that also did a great presentation, who was also Native American. So that was really great to see and encouraging, that our Native American students can get out there and get into engineering fields. And finally, they had John Harrington, who was a former NASA astronaut. And he had a wonderful presentation where he talked about his journey and how he got to where he was, and talked about how he didn't do well in school, but overcame all those obstacles and achieved one of the dreams that a lot of our Native students have, to go out into space and to actually be out there. And it was a wonderful presentation that the whole afternoon that I participated in. I'll give Jacob some time whenever we do some program share outs to talk more about that day. But I just wanted to highlight that that's one of the things that happened recently. And then, as mentioned, we had myself and our Vice President, Esther Nystrom, who were invited guests to be guest speakers on the Native American Calling broadcast. It's an online streaming. If you haven't heard of it, I'll provide the website here in the chat box soon, or actually I can do that now. And the invitation was extended to us because they wanted to talk about learning loss during the pandemic. And we had other guest speakers included Diana Cornier with the NIEA Association, and she did a fantastic job on providing information overall on a national level. There was also Dr. Victoria Yazzie from the Navajo Education Board, and she provided information regarding to Navajo and up in northern part of Arizona. And then we had Shondine Dana Begay, who was from Albuquerque area, and she provided information about special needs Native American families who have special needs students and the effects of everybody that the effects upon our students during this pandemic and the learning loss that was provided or that has happened with our students. So it's a really great broadcast. I encourage you, if you have some time, to listen in. I spoke about on behalf of AIEA of Arizona in general, also including where I currently work in the Tucson area, and Esther had spoken about her students in the Mesa Schools area. And so it was a really great informational session that we were able to be a part of, and very honored to be a part of so many strong Indigenous women on that panel. So much we could have talked about, but of course they kept cutting us off due to time. And so it's a great conversation that possibly we could roll over into one of our AIEA PD sessions after one of our meetings. And lastly, I just want to highlight a victory for tribal sovereignty. Of course, I always try and encourage you to keep apprised of legal issues that are out there that can directly affect our people, whether it's directly towards our community or towards our students. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight that recently happened this week is the FMC Corporation versus the Shoshone Bennett tribes. And this is a case that highlights the natural resources and the tribal lands of the Shoshone Bannock tribes. And the reason why this is so important is because this decision that the Supreme Court made, to give you a little bit of a background, the FMC Corporation is a corporation that houses toxic waste. And they house this waste on the Fort Hall Reservation, which is home to the Shoshone Bannock tribes. And they left 22 million tons of toxic waste on that reservation. Since 1988 to 2001, the FMC, this corporation, has been paying a fee to the tribe for housing that toxic waste, but in doing so, it stopped the phosphorus operations or stopped operations in 2001. Since that time, they have not been paying anything towards the tribe. They've been back and forth in court, and the Ninth Circuit had held that the tribal court had regulatory and adjudicatory jurisdiction over the Shoshone Bannock tribes lawsuit, which was filed under 2 Montana exceptions involving tribal authority over non-Indians. The appeals court had said the tribe has inherent power when the actions of a company are a threat to the tribe's economic security or the health and welfare of the students. So the chairman of the tribe had stated this decision helps all of Indian country in efforts to protect tribal lands and natural resources, as well as the betterment of all the people of the Southeast Idaho. So this is a victory for tribal sovereignty across the board for all of our Indian nations. And so it gives us that, it holds that our sovereignty is recognized on a national level, and that these companies, our tribes have the authority to have say-so of what these companies do on their tribal lands. And so it's just a protection, another protection and a victory for our people in Indian country. And so I just wanted to highlight that. I'll put the information about, I don't know exactly what the vote was on the Supreme Court, but I can find out, John, and I will let you know. There's more information about it. I didn't have a chance to fully dive into it, but I was really basically skimming through to see why it was an important decision. And so, but I'll provide more information about that in a follow-up email. A couple of more things just to highlight, and then I'm done. I wanted to highlight our College Horizons Scholars and Graduate Horizons program. This, I did mention it back at our November meeting, and let me actually put a link to the flyer in our chat there. This is for American Indian and Alaska Native high school students. They're actually going virtual this year for 2021. All programs will be free, and it's going to be remote. There will be no tuition fees to participate. There is an application that you can complete for your students who would like to apply for that. And I'll put that link in the chat box as well. And so I encourage you to spread the word that for the students who want to participate in this program. It's a great program that I was unfortunately not able to be a part of when I was going through high school because I didn't know about it. And so we'd encourage you to let your students know that they can be a part of this program. It's free this year, so it's a wonderful program that, and they don't know the dates just yet. So information is forthcoming, but the application is open. And lastly, just want to highlight the Tohono O'odham Community College will begin their spring classes. This is an extended date, so they will start their classes on January 19th. And I will put their website in the chat box. just for further information, that if you would like to share that as well. So that is all that I have for our president's report. Are there any other questions? Okay, if not, again, I just want to say thank you for joining us today and Happy New Year. You know, this is a new year that we're starting out. We're hopeful, we're looking forward to better times, and once again, to hopefully come together sometime soon, once everything's has panned over. But stay encouraged, stay strong, and we'll get through this together. So with that, let's move on. If there's no questions to the treasurer's report, and I am going to turn it over to Travis.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see everybody, although virtually. Katie, it's been forever. I miss you. For those who don't know, Katie was a former AIEA executive board member, and she was very involved with AIEA in the past. And it was always awesome because when she'd come down to Phoenix area to attend meetings, she would bring parents to encourage parent involvement. And so I appreciate Katie's dedication to AIEA over these past many years, but also all of you guys' dedication to AIEA. And thank you for taking your Friday morning for joining us today. I always like to start off with giving you some background about AIEA finances. So I think it was back in 2014, there was discussion that AIEA would dissolve due to some non-involvement of our educators. And so, but there was still a group of us that felt like it was really important to maintain AIEA and to continue it. So we continue to support this organization, but we felt that at the time that there needed to be a fiscal sponsor to support the capacity of AIEA. And so Intertribal Council of Arizona had agreed to be the fiscal agent for AIEA, and we continue to do that. But when we established the nonprofit back in 2003, we opened up a bank account at Desert Financial. So we have two accounts today. We have the Desert Financial account, and then we have the ITCA account, and I'll report on those two things. Excuse me, my voice is a little weird today. So for the ITCA account, for expenses in December, there were no current expenses, but we did receive membership from, I think it was Amphi from Kimberly's district, and then I think from Mesa Public Schools from Esther's program. And I think we received one more membership from another school, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but our revenue reported for December, which is a little outdated, is $125. I do want to thank and recognize John Bastian for his generous donation to ITCA in the amount of, or the AIEA, in the amount of $250. So thank you so much, John. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And but that currently it's not reflected in our December report. But in total expenses, it's $46,624.37. That's expenses since 2014. So I think we've been pretty frugal as far as those expenses goes. And then our revenue was $10,535.37, which puts us in a deficit of $36,089. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but ATCA as the fiscal agent is happy to cover those expenses, but we just like to report those as how we report this account. For the Desert Financial statement, there were no expenses in December, except that Kimberly paid out of her own pocket the the Arizona Corporation Commission fee, so that would keep us as a recognized corporation under Arizona law, and that was in the amount of $10. We will be using some of this money to support the college mentors that supported the AIA winter camp. And so those expenses will be forthcoming, but they're not reflected in our current account. But right now, in our checking, we have $434.86. And in our savings, we have $42,593.30. And so that will conclude my treasurer's report. And if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Travis. And I just want to reiterate and what Travis mentioned to John. Thank you so much for your generous donation to AIEA, and know it will be put to good use to help our Native students throughout the state of Arizona. All right, so moving on, if there's no other questions about the treasurer's report, thank you so much, Travis, for keeping us up to date with that. I know you have a busy schedule, and thank you for taking the time to ensure all of our financial assets and expenses are taken care of in a manner that we can understand it. So thank you for providing that report. Okay, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on the agenda to old business. First item under old business is our youth leadership winter camp. This was a very exciting time for us because it was our first virtual camp that we've held. And so it was a trial run to see how it would work. And so at this time, I am going to turn it over to Jerry, who was our camp coordinator for this year's camp.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull up sort of the basic information that we have for the camp itself. So this is sort of how the camp was laid out. So this year we converted it to a virtual winter camp, and it was still held on the Monday and Tuesday, December 28th and 29th. How we structured it was for that Monday, the 28th, was going to be the ITCA day. And then the day 2 for the 29th was for AIEA activities. So for the registration fee, we had $40 for non-AIEA members and then $20 for AIEA affiliated members. And we had 50 available spaces, but I think during that time, I'm trying to remember from the registration, we had about 10 students that attended. And we had 5 scholarships available, but also, our co-secretary, she was generous enough to donate another 5 scholarships, towards the camp. So we were really happy and excited about that. Thank you, Lynn-Ann. And in doing so, for the camp staff, we had the ITCA collaboration. So for day 1, Travis Lane was able to bring us presentations and also breakout rooms. So for their sessions, they covered STEM careers. So for the STEM careers, they invited speakers from U of A, and then also they invited a speaker from Phoenix. He was actually a Native American doctor that worked at one of the hospitals here. So he laid out his journey for his session about what it was like to apply to medical school, and also have recommendations ready for the students that attended, like how to, apply, how to prepare, what he did to, spruce up his resume, all of his application requirements, and also, give a background of what his journey was like, of how he grew up, and then also what sort of careers he was thinking about, and then what led him to going into pediatrics. So it was a really interesting session, and we really were excited about that. And there were 2 other sessions that we had. I think one of the sessions was cut off shortly because somehow, some way, we lost communication. So we know now that for next upcoming winter camp, we're still going to be planning a winter camp for this year, but we're going to see if we can have a active IT person to help us if anything like that comes up again. And we had another volunteer from Arizona State University, and she talked about a session with the students about, I think it was water quality. And then we also had another person from Arizona State, Shandine Key. She was the keynote speaker for that day, and she is affiliated with the PhD program for the biochemistry department there. And so she kind of talked to the students about what it was like for her, like what got her into her STEM career, what got her into biochemistry. And she laid out again her family history, how it was linked towards her decision to move up from, leading from a medical background that she wanted to go into actually going into the biochemical field. So it was really interesting to hear her journey. And then, also she was a former camp coordinator as well. So she helped last year with getting supplies and spending time with the kids and the staff. So it was really good to see her again. And then for the AIEA day, for day 2, we had AIEA activities. We had Enrique Salt again to help with the students lead the morning run. So we had a morning run again for the students, and then also we had another. I guess it was an opening and then the breakfast activity. So we made sure to spend time with the kids while they were eating, thinking critically about what they ate and then how they chose to eat, and then also implement traditional knowledge. So how we would want students to think critically about what they put inside their bodies, and think about how they're feeling about when they eat those things. So it was a really good activity. And then also doing a DIY medicine making activity from the University of Arizona. We had Dr. Patricia Gonzalez. She was happy to donate some medicine that she had as a professor. She provides her college students with the same medicine activities. So she was able to donate medicine for us. I think it was juniper, and then I think it was lavender petals. So she donated that for us. And then also we had a planting activity. So from the Ton Autumn Community College, we had Joyce Manuel, and then here we had her assistant Gabriel help us with going through the presentation of where their agricultural program came from, where they are at now, and then also doing a planting activity with the pea plant. So their program provided us seeds and soil, and then a little small cup so that they can learn how the pea plant works, and then the process of growing a plant and what really goes into taking care of plants, the environment, and how they impact animals, and how you're supposed to care for the plant, also have good thoughts and good feelings towards the plant, so they're able to flourish and then just grow better in an environment that's more suitable for them. So it was really good to see. But so far, does anyone have any questions about the camp itself or about registration or anything like that?
Was there an evaluation feedback from what the students did?
Okay. We had a process in place to help with that. Linan how's the update going for the intern? Because I know Matt was involved with that process.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just AIEA also during the camp sponsored an intern, a youth intern, a high school student from who was being, I guess, trained, employed through Phoenix Indian Center. And Matthew is a wonderful intern, so it was great for us to be able to give him that experience. He was kind of our social media / feedback collecting person and did create a survey. We're still, we're in the process of getting that survey out and receiving the survey back. So we don't have any feedback currently, and there are also a couple of interviews that are being conducted. So once we have that information, we'll definitely share it. Our goal is to have it by the next meeting, but that's actually a great question. We are, gathering that feedback. As you know, right after the camp, everybody kind of, we finally went into that, our 1 week vacation mode as educators and students. So, and then now we just started our next semester. So we'll definitely have that feedback, hopefully by the next meeting. It is being collected though, through a survey and through interviews. But initial, kind of on the spot feedback from what I've heard from students, our students that participated, they really enjoyed it. They learned a lot of, they were really excited, especially to hear about the traditional and cultural knowledge, kind of that indigenous perspective that they don't get to hear in school necessarily. And it was great because, the presenters were connecting the cultural indigenous perspective to what that looks like in the Western, Western knowledge base. And so I've heard really great feedback from the students who are excited to learn about the cultural side of everything. And then just in like the comments in the chat, and things that they were typing. So that was immediate feedback, but we'll be getting the, after the fact feedback here in the next few weeks. Thanks.
I want to provide some time for some of the other committee members who are on a part of this, either Esther, Melody, or Q, if you want to jump in and share some of what you thought about the camp and the experience that we experienced together.
Esther. So I got a chance to listen to the first day, and some of the presenters were excellent. Those who came on were actually participating in the field in that profession. So I feel that they brought a professional view of the subject and the topic. So we had doctors, we had people who were in the STEM field working in those areas. So I believe that brought a very professional view of what to expect in those fields.
Can I just mention really quickly also that we had wonderful college mentors that also worked really well with our students and were able to share their own knowledge base as far as that kind of in between where our participants were and where our speakers were. And it was great to have the college mentors there to share their experiences, like when they were in high school, when they were a little bit younger, but now, here's what it's like for them and what their perspectives are being college students. So they did a wonderful job, and Melody, met with them and went through trainings with them. And so they were well prepared. They were very well spoken and also helped out tremendously during the camp as well.
Just to read what is in the chat, Enrique's having a little bit of issues with the technical portion. She says that we should share a future planning note to partner with universities to load hotspots, jetpacks that will help campers, presenters, elders, etc., to strengthen the connectivity. Absolutely, we will look forward to working on that for next time.
This is Melody. I was going to say that I was so impressed by this year's college mentors. They were just spectacular. I don't like to play favorites, but jeepers, I haven't seen this kind of positive attitude for at least 2 years. I mean, not that there's ever bad mentors, but they were just really an amazing group. And so it was really, there is something really special about having them there. The way they were able to connect with the students is just such a different level. I also wanted to talk about the traditional speakers. On Monday, we had for ITCA, traditional and science speaker, traditional ecological knowledge and science speaker was Celso Villegas, who then came back second day as an elder. And Esther brought a speaker, and him and Celso did the campfire talk. You know, they were really great. And, you know, I feel so bad. Esther's speaker could have really just gone on. I just like thirsted to hear more what he had to say. And Celso called me up the next day saying how much he really enjoyed the other elder at camp. And so that was also, we had some really great people. Yeah, Freddie Johnson, that's it. He was just, gosh, I was like, you know what? If we could bring him back for the summer camp, I would just strongly recommend that. He clearly has so much more to give. And he also has, as a single dad, I mean, his kids can sign up for camp. You know, I don't know. I just thought they were really wonderful. We shortened it to 2 days, and I definitely left there going, gosh, it was really powerful. I was surprised at how powerful it was for 2 days. And I'm really committed to helping grow a stronger summer camp, which will, in my mind, I think it needs to be likely online, because we just don't know about the dates of things being safe again. But yeah, I just, again, call out to our elders. Patricia, Dr. Gonzalez is also an elder, and she brought that really sweet nature too. And so, yeah, she was really great. All of them just brought a lot of kindness and compassion to our students. And just wanted to make sure we recognized our elders who participated as well as our college mentors.
Yes, it was a phenomenal 2-day camp that we had. Normally our camp is 4 days. So it was cut in half this year, but we're looking at possibly extending that out, even if we do go to a virtual realm or continue in that way. That there was so much that could have been shared that normally is shared as in the past years, but we had to accommodate the time allotted for our students, and we worried that they may be on the computer too long. But it was a phenomenal time. With the time that I was able to participate in. And so thank you, everybody. We had such a great committee that pulled this together. We put our minds together, and this is what was created for our students. I had a few students from my own district that participated on both days, and the feedback I got back from not only our students, but the parents and grandparents was outstanding. They really enjoyed that cultural perspective and hearing about the STEM career opportunities and all the knowledge that was shared throughout the 2 days. As Melody mentioned, it was very powerful for all of those who did participate, even for those of us who were allowed to share that time with our elders and listen to the knowledge that they shared during that campfire sessions. And so it's always a great time whenever we're able to share our cultural knowledge with everybody, and especially with among our students. And so thank you, committee, for putting this together and making it such a fantastic success. Look forward to planning our summer camp and also continuing with our winter camp in the future. So are there any other questions or comments? All right, so with that, Jerry, you did a fantastic job on being our camp coordinator. I know it was treading into unknown territory for us, and thank you so much for being our tech person, our coordinator, our agenda maker, our meeting scheduler, all that and all the above. You did a phenomenal job in making that a success for us this year. So thank you for your time and helping us make that and keeping us all on task. So we'll move on in our agenda to our next item, which is our, I want to say it's our banquet coming up.
Yeah, so for our educators banquet, I guess a major update that we have is, so we had a AIEA executive meeting this week, and then also yesterday, then we had a educators banquet committee meeting. So during those meetings, we wanted to put it forth that we wanted to postpone the event itself. So for the event date, that was going to be on Saturday, February 27th. But because we're only like 6 weeks out, we wanted to make sure that we weren't compromising on the quality and the experience. So what we wanted to do, we voted and we passed the postponement. So we decided to postpone the event date until September 18th. It's going to be a Saturday. If we're going to keep it from the time from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So it's only going to be 2 hours. During that time, we're going to be planning. One of the big reasons for this postponement is because we today is the deadline to submit the nomination forms. So right now, as it stands, we only received 2 nomination forms, and they were both for 2 different awards, knowing that we have 11 awards available. So we're going to, next week, we're going to have a committee meeting, and we're going to sort of edit the nomination form so we can edit the dates. So, during that upcoming week, we'll be able to, by next meeting, announce the nomination form edits, and we're going to have that up on the ITCA website for the banquet itself. So for now, we're still accepting nominations. We're going to edit the dates so we can upload that again on the ITCA website. And then we're going to be working towards mainly distributing sponsorship letters to the appropriate recipients. So we have already a list of different organizations and entities that we're going to be reaching out to. Not only NIEA, ACES, these organizations that are here locally in Arizona, but also nationally, just so we can, look for any sponsorships, wherever that they may be. And we're also going to do social media posts, social media marketing, so that we can work our way up to remind those that may not be here in the meetings right now, but we're going to work up to the event date. And then also we're strategizing for how we're going to get our silent auction items and our raffle items. So right now for the silent auction, we are planning to get items. One way is that we were looking at editing the requirements for the Arizona student scholarship application. So what we're thinking about, so last year we wanted to do the, for one of the requirements, it's usually just an essay or, for a theme, but this year we want to do a theme, but see if they can submit a piece of artwork maybe along with the essay, just so we can have something to look at, and then also see if we can get permission from the students to, take, I guess, photos, really nice photos of their of their artwork, so then we can make prints out of them. So we made prints last year for our educators banquet, and they turned out really nice. Some students even donated their original artwork itself. So we had original paintings that we got from the students. So we're thinking one way to do that. Another way of getting silent auction items. We agreed on this already, but committee members will be donating one item to put towards the silent auction item, the silent auction. And then thirdly, we're going to see if we can organize reaching out to Native artists for donations directly, but then organize communications with those artists to see if they would like to host a tutorial online. So it would be like a virtual art workshop, because we've seen that on social media, like on Facebook and Instagram, where these Native artists, they go with kids, walk them step by step to either draw or paint, and we think that that might be, a good way to go. And then here we would always have our flyer and do our ad for, hey, if you would like to donate, your art piece, this is where you can contact us if you would like to. And that's another way that we're going to do with the silent auction item, along with reaching out to Native artists directly. But other than that, I think that's all that with the updates. Does anyone have any questions about the banquet?
All right, so thank you, Jerry, for that update for the banquet. We are excited about still having this. We don't want to cancel it altogether. We do want to recognize all of those who have a significant impact in making our students succeed in their academics. And it's across so many capacities that we want to honor and recognize those persons and individuals. And so we highly encourage you to help us share, spread the word. Jerry, as you mentioned, will update our application or nomination form, and we will get that out to everybody with the new dates for nominations to be submitted. The other thing the reason why we postponed, as she mentioned, is to reach out to our Indian education programs. Hopefully we'll get more educators interested in being a part of AIEA, and also more participation, as well as getting students to understand how important education is for our communities. And so this is one way that we can reach out to them to help them be a part of our organization, is by allowing them to go through these webinars or these meetings that we're going to be hosting, and creating these artworks and art pieces, and show them that this is something that they can share their talent with everybody, across statewide. And so we think that will instill that sense of pride within our parents and our students as well. So we're really excited about it, and we encourage you to help be a part of it and help us plan and make it another successful event for AIEA. But if there's no other questions, we can move on in the agenda. Next is our new business. And with that, we have the Office of Indian Education update. Those who are on the Indian Education Advisory Council, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that our next meeting won't be held until April. Is that correct?
Yes, the next meeting is April 7th, and I have a couple of updates to give, and they're really quick if you'd like me to do that.
Okay, yes, please do, Lynn Ann. She is the current chair for our IEAC, so I'm going to turn it over to her to provide an update.
Okay. Thank you. And just a couple of things really quickly. As you may or may not know, the Office of Indian Education and ADE is going through a strategic planning process currently. And, was started out, I know they started out working with Melody and Jacob. So if either of you have any input you'd like to give, that would be great. I was just going to share very quickly in the chat box. Sorry. In the chat box, there's 4 pillars that the strategic plan is being kind of focused around. And these are the 4 kind of main topics that are being covered within the strategic plan. And right now we're in the phase of collecting, I shouldn't say, well, but really OIE, ADE is in the current phase of collecting survey responses back. They went through the whole, brainstorming what stakeholders feedback should be gathered from, and it was determined that it would be good to have feedback from students, from parents, from educators, from the Indian Education Advisory Council, and as well as tribal education departments. And so they're really trying to be very thorough in regards to receiving this input and feedback from those of us who work with Native students, and actually Native students themselves. And so questions were created specifically for each of the stakeholder groups, and surveys have been sent out. Responses are now being received. And so right now we're kind of in that data collecting portion of it. And then it's going to be decided how that input and feedback is going to affect or, educate those that are working with the strategic plan. And then, talking about how is that going to be carried out, who's responsible for what portions of that, how are all of these pillars going to be addressed and satisfied through this process. And so that's kind of where that is at currently. And then I did receive word from Terry Beeler Saucedo. She is the tribal grant specialist. She has put together a presentation. I know in our last Johnson O'Malley coordinators meeting, there was a request for assistance with kind of a layout of a calendar. When we talk about fiscal year calendars, we talk about school calendars, and then is that different from the January through December yearly calendar? So there's all these different calendars that we operate under. Any of you who've ever worked with a grant knows that there's different calendar years, calendar months, and fiscal years. And so she did a really good job of kind of laying that out. What is that? What do all these different calendar years mean? What do all these different calendars mean? Here's some timelines to keep in mind. She did every month from here through December. Here's some of the things you should keep in mind as a JOM coordinator. And even she put in some information about Title VI. So that is forthcoming. She should be sending that out in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. She'll be getting that information out, as that was a request at the last JOM meeting. And yes, Kimberly is correct. Our next AC meeting is on April 7th. And so if you are a part of that committee, you should be receiving an invitation for that meeting. Okay, I think that's it for updates. If anybody has any questions or further input, you're welcome to share.
Linan, just to remind you that in the law that created the Office of Indian Education, one of the board members of the Office of Indian Education that they're supposed to report to is ITCA. So if you can just remind the OIE staff that ITCA should be involved as a part of the decision making of that office.
As far as the strategic planning process, is this something that should we then just invite a representative from ITCA to the meeting, or are you wanting a separate meeting?
Yeah, that'd be I think we're just getting a representative from ITCA. When the prior director was soliciting membership, she excluded ITCA to be eligible. So,
Okay.
So just a reminder that it's in the law that ITCA should be part of OIE.
Oh, that's good to know. Let me know who we should invite to the meeting. I'm sure that's not going to be a problem at all. I'm sure they just were not aware of that. But thank you for letting me know.
So, oh, nope. Jake, you first. I saw you unmute.
Oh, then I muted again. I started talking. Okay, now I'm unmuted again. No, go ahead, because I think you might have more current information than I do, but I'll let you go and then I'll offer whatever I can offer. So.
All right, Jake's the closer. So I just have things that aren't directly the Arizona Department of Education, not the Office of Indian Ed, has hired a tribal liaison for in their policy and government department. And so that's kind of a neat update. Is I think that's a trend I've seen in working with internally with the ADE, is they're hiring more Native people in different spaces outside of just the Office of Indian Ed. And that's just really cool because it just helps strengthen the voice, that it's not just in one place, but in many places. But I can kind of give a sneak peek. So the other week, we had our last strategic planning session with tribal leaders, and we had 4 tribal leaders show up. So from Akchin, Navajo, Gila River, and Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. They were so much fun. We had a really great time, and they came from really different perspectives than other stakeholders. And so we created questions that were very specific and targeted for them. We asked them, like, instead of talking about increasing pathways for Indigenous educators, we asked them how they could implement grow your own educator programs. So things like that, that really gave some really great responses into how not just OIE, but how can the ADE operate. I think the big themes were really tribal sovereignty and tribal resilience, and about seeing our families as valuable stakeholders and contributors to the educational process in a way that only tribal leaders can really speak to that understanding. It was just really, really so good. If you want me to discuss any particular pillar in mind, but those were the things I kind of took away. And they really asked for, some other people mentioned it, but the tribal leaders really emphasized the concept of kind of a larger ADE task force, which would recognize more than just the public schools, but the BIE schools, 638, charters, just kind of bringing everyone to get a stronger vision for Indian education. And they were also suggesting things like phone calls from Kathy Hoffman herself to be offered to tribal education departments, and just like a variety of things that really emphasize sovereignty. And it was really wonderful. Superintendent Hoffman was there and did do the opening. So she did hear parts of these conversations. But so now with this, I'm waiting on the student survey portion to be completed before I can finalize an actual strategic plan, because I don't want to create a strategic plan that doesn't have that voice included, and no one else does either. I'll probably be talking at this group hopefully next month about how we can strategize to get more student voices out there. There is a caregiver student survey out. Caregiver parent survey. And I would really urge you, like at your JOM meetings, to actually go through the PowerPoint that's been provided and have them there, whether they be on their phone, have them fill out their survey, let them tell them like it is, because that's another really fresh, parents just, they're delightful. They really tell you how it is. And I know all of you here know that truth of your parents. So let them share that joy with the ADE. Yeah, that's what I have to say. I'll take any questions if you want things specific. But it's been really great being able to talk to so many different people and create such a strong Indigenous voice in this plan.
So Melody, did the report get circulated to the members on this on AIEA, or do we know how the draft got distributed? Has everybody seen it, the draft?
I don't know if they read it, but I know it was distributed pretty widely.
I'm not sure, Jacob, if it was distributed out to our email listserv, but I did receive a copy of that as well. I think it went out to all of the Indian Educator Program Department and the stakeholders who are on the OIE listserv.
Okay, so it might be worth making it available, or maybe just distributing it to the group, especially if Melody's going to have a follow-up with AIEA, because I think it is important for members of AIEA to be aware of what's in there. Maybe just going back in terms of how the report got here was that Serena Danette Sosi came in a little over a year ago, as the deputy assistant superintendent. They elevated the position from a director's to a deputy assistant superintendent under Superintendent Hoffman. And again, I think that's really had a large influence in terms of trying to reestablish some of the stability and capacity of the office. And then was looking for a consultant to help her do some strategic planning, and brought Melody's group on board to do some of this strategic planning. And for those that don't know, Melody and I worked together along with ITCA and with Travis on a prior event and a report that we did back in 2014. That was it was a combination of a state of K-12 Indian education in Arizona, which was primarily funded by Helios, but we started the draft in 2013, a report that we distributed in 2014, and then an event, I believe in March of 2014, a tribal leaders, education leaders forum. And so Melody had put together the plenary report. So it's another document that's out there in terms of what is the current state of, and that one should be updated because it was 2014 data. And so it'd be interesting to go back and, update that in terms of what is the current data on our status of our Native students in the K-12 system altogether. And then, and that was all public school data. I don't think we had very limited, we had some BIE data, but not a lot. And then the other is that, so as a result of that, it would make good sense, for Melody to do, some work with ADE and OIE in terms of some strategic planning. And so Q and Melody, and then they brought me on board to help with Melody called me up and she said, "You want to help us with this project?" And I said, sure. She said, "We're, thinking that it would be like a couple of months down the road." And she called me back a couple of days later and she said, we're ready to roll. And I said, "To do what?" And she said, "We've got 3 2-hour workshops over the next 3 weeks internally, with the department to start framing a strategic plan." And in part, I think it was a recognition from the department that, prior to the current makeup at the advisory committee, the prior advisory committee, and right when the Superintendent Hoffman came in, and Kelly Kolzak, who is her policy advisor, kind of her government affairs side, kind of pressing them a little bit that the office should not be one person, within this division, one office, one person, that in fact, Indian education should be integrated throughout the institution, regardless of what department, that Indian education has as much to do with all the services and all the resources that are available through ADE. So I appreciate that they took that to heart, because I think in some ways this process, by suggesting that, start with the division directors and let them have a better understanding of what Indian education is, but more importantly, what is their role. And so, Q and Melody did a really fantastic job of coming up with a pretty interactive sessions. 2 hours was fast, but I think it was good to move at that pace. We had, for the beginning of each session, we did a 20-minute introduction on the topics that I think we are really an orientation, a way of orienting. So the first one we did, the history of tribal governments, that really speaks to the concepts of tribal sovereignty, but really based on the historic framework, which then when you get to the idea of consultation is much more clear once you understand this 200 and 25-year history, maybe going on 250 years now. But and Melody, what were the other two sessions that we did on informational or kind of
Indian education.
Indian education, and then the third one
And
was
then the third one was kind of like the cultural integration of tribal ways into education and understanding education.
right. And so I think we also included, such concepts of the social determinants of health, some of the things that Intertribal Council had put together around social determinants of health. And but it was pretty remarkable in terms of the kind of feedback that we got back for somebody that had served on the state board before. I've really only heard from some of the superintendents at that highest level, the associate superintendents, but to engage with really department directors, division directors, and to ask them, how much do you do, in working with tribal communities? Because the fact of the matter is that they do. And a lot of them are already engaged with school districts and tribal communities, whether it's, the free or reduced lunch programs or, Title I, Title VII, but also, they're pretty active and they were actively engaged in the conversation. And so for us, it was kind of on the fly. But I think the way that we tried to frame the strategic planning was to look at the statute, which is a little bit of what Travis had shared, is what does the statute say, that the responsibility of the office does, and try and reflect that back in the department in terms of these are the things that under statute, that this office should be delivering. And it doesn't just depend on its federal dollars, what are you doing at the department level? And so out of all of those conversations, and again, using some pretty sophisticated kind of virtual software that, we were getting real-time feedback and putting them into breakout sessions and then bringing them back and then sharing and then being able to real-time kind of post their comments and their ideas. We captured a lot of information that went into that initial draft with the understanding that it was just a starting point, that straw man, that draft would then go to the committee and then would go to tribal leaders and communities and now to students. And so anytime you do, that type of engagement with tribal communities on consultation, it's always a balance between not enough information and too much information. When IHS, BIA, others run into that all the time when they bring a document to a tribe and the tribe, who could say, well, why are you asking? Because you've already created it. Or you don't bring enough information and the tribe is saying, well, what do you want? Because we don't understand what you're asking. So this draft is really that balance between this is what the department thinks its responsibilities are, but you tell us whether or not we're on the right track or not. And so that, within the time that Serena's been there and the superintendent's been there, I think they've done a good job of really creating this framework and this model. And again, I think knowing the potential, that, and especially now with COVID-19, that's also my bigger concern is how are our students currently being impacted as a result of, perhaps not being in a classroom and being at home and having limited access to the internet, how are our students being affected under the current environment? And so all that to say, I think it's a good start. And so if you haven't seen a copy of it, we should try and make sure that you get a copy of it because it's really there for you to weigh in, and see if that makes sense to you in terms of where you are and what you do in your school district or in your community and what your thoughts are. And so, again, that commitment from the superintendent and from Serena, and then also, that position that they have in government affairs was original Anne Begay. And then she ran for office and I think just got sworn in recently as a justice of the peace. And so they hired somebody else that I think just started this week, Sami, and I don't know what Sami's last name is. It's the other Sami. It's not not our Sami at issue, but
Sami Waitawa.
right. Yeah. So she'll be in that government affairs position and will be, along with Kelly and the rest of their team, spending time down at the legislature and other places, really pressing for more funding, from the state legislative side. So that again, that's my take. At least I think that's what we're doing or what they're doing. And again, I'm not part of the current work that Melody's doing, but helped out early on. If you haven't seen the report, the one thing that for me I think was important was in the appendices. We have a lot of the feedback and comments that were part of those sessions, but also kind of a historical overview of how that office operated back in the 70s and 80s when it had professional staff. I think in interviewing Juana Jose, who's at Thanatham Community College, she said at one point, I think they had 11 staff people in that office. And they actually had responsibility, the fiscal agent for AIEA, and had a role in the creation of AIEA, and then also facilitated bringing NIEA to Phoenix twice. It was held at the convention center back in the kind of mid 80s, I think. And so I think it was important to capture some of what had been there before, with the idea that can happen again. So that's it. So thank you.
Thank you all for that great update. I just think it's so important that, and I have heard in the past where the Office of Indian Education and AIEA really didn't connect as well, but I want to try and keep that communication and that relationship strong, because there's so much that we share among the different issues that affect our parents, our students, and our communities. And so I want to ensure that our membership is well apprised of what is happening at the state level under the Office of Indian Education, as well as the Department of Education. And so I know it's been a tremendous task in trying to get the strategic plan going, and Melody and Jacob and Q have done a fantastic job in making that happen, and at least getting this draft sent out. And so in the chat box, Melody has shared the draft of the OIE strategic plan. I did send our communication secretary, Lynn, that draft, and also the report that Jacob talked about that took place in 2014, I believe, at auction. And so
Oh, and you helped out too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and it was my first time being a facilitator. I hope people didn't acknowledge that, but Melody provided the guidance and even some help from Deborah Norris at the time. And so I was very nervous, but we followed through with that. But that report, those two reports I did send out to our secretary, co-secretary, Lynn, so she will get those out to the membership, so that way you can at least see that report that we talked about that took place at auction. But the draft is right here in the chat box if you want to click on that and download that and save it to your computer so you can review that when you have available time. And I highly encourage you to read through this. If you have any questions, please contact them. Their contact information is included in that draft, and Melody or Jacob, I'm sure, is available to answer any questions that you may have regarding that. So this is very important. We do need to get our voice out there. There's numerous attempts to ensure that our Indigenous voice, our Native voice, is heard. And so I highly encourage you to be a part of that. This is something historic that the state of Arizona is wanting to assist us with. And so I encourage you to be a part of that as well. And so many people can be acknowledged for making this happen and coming together, and the teamwork that's been provided, and helping make this a reality. And so it's very exciting to hear that, and that it's coming to fruition. As Melody mentioned, those parent surveys are out there. What was it, caretaker / parent surveys. The student surveys have, those have gone out as well, I believe, or they're going to be coming out. But please let your parents know about this as well. We do want their parental input into the guidance for this strategic plan. All these voices matter. Your voice matters. So help us share and get the word out about that. And so are there any other questions? We have phenomenal people on the line that can answer. So ask away if you have anything.
Just real quick, ITCA coordinates an Indian education working group that's comprised of tribal education directors. And we used to be a lot more frequently, a couple of years ago than lately. But acknowledging that the Office of Indian Education's funding was very limited, we inquired with our tribal education directors what were the priorities under the law that should be implemented or focused on. And so we wrote a quick policy paper about those priorities that the tribal education directors felt that the Office of Indian Education should focus on. I can't log into our group drive when I'm on Zoom, but when we're done with this meeting, I'll share with you, Kimberly. But I remember one of them was really about that cultural responsive education piece that was within the law, and the technical assistance around providing that for schools. I think that was the big one that was asked for by our tribal education directors. So I'm not sure how that could be integrated in the strategic plan. I think it could fall under the first pillar. But I think there's some, just knowing that the Office of Indian Education isn't going to be funded at the level that it should be, at least prioritize what the community wants.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we sometimes where the rub is, and as we were putting this together, part of it is on interpretation. And so when you look at the statute for the Office of Indian Education, it talks about providing technical assistance in developing curriculum. And in Serena, as Serena is trying to, get her office to be more engaged on that side, there's a little bit of pushback from the superintendent's office about local control, that there's this fine line between what the department advocates or creates and then what happens locally. And I don't think it's an either or. I think there's a way to do both in that it was done before. I think the document we had with Juana Jose talked about Teresa McCarty, came on as a consultant under a grant and worked with some parents in terms of developing, some native language curriculum to be used at the school level. And so one, I think, is, how should we, as stakeholders or community members or even schools push the department to do that, and maybe not shy away from their interpretation that, that takes away from local control. The other is that looking at the statute itself is that it's been around for a long time, maybe for 20 years or whenever that thing was put in place. And the office actually existed before that statute was put in place, but, should it be amended? Does it cover everything? Or is there something that could, under statute, if you're going to rely on statute, then if the statute's not right, then fix it. And so even that section that you had pulled out, talks about this annual event, that Intertribal Council and the state legislature and the governor's office are all supposed to be a part of that. No, that doesn't happen. I mean, there may be an event, but you're not going to get the governor's office there, or maybe you can, but, or even the legislature. And in fact, why would you want the legislature? Because they'll just screw it up. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but, you always risk, bringing something to the legislature because they'll figure out a way to make it go away. And so, maybe as tribes or others think about, looking at the statute, is there something that, can you tweak it? Can it be refined? Can we go to our indigenous state senators and representatives and perhaps, if nothing else, maybe have a hearing on the current statute and see if it makes sense or if there's something to change. Like I said, I say that with a little bit of reluctance because, sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for. once you open some of these things up, then you can run the risk of having it turn out worse than what you had already. But the idea is, can we fix it? So, or does it even need to be fixed? So.
Absolutely. Great wisdom from everybody. I always enjoy hearing your input, Jacob, because you've been involved with education for a number of years, and your experience and sharing that with us. It just provides a wealth of knowledge that we can learn from and try to utilize to enhance the system, the systematic of what's being done to our children. And so thank you for taking the time to share that with us, as well as everybody on this call. That's one of the reasons why we created our educator celebration, is to celebrate you, because you are a part of making things happen in a positive manner for all of our students across the state of Arizona. I know it's not easy at times, but we stand strong together, and that's a part of what AIEA is about. We come to work, and we work on things together to make things happen in a positive way for all of our students, our parents, and our Native communities for our state. Great insight on a lot of this. We've been sharing like crazy in the chat box, so I highly encourage you to copy and paste this on a Word document or something, so that you will be able to have this information on hand. Again, there's so much more that we can discuss. Indian education is a topic that we can go on and on about all day long, and numerous hours if we wanted to, and if we had the time. But I know that we're winding down to our 1 o'clock time period. I don't want to keep everybody on too much longer, but I do want to allow time for everybody to share any program updates or program share outs that you would like to provide. I am going to allow you that time to do that at this time. And so just whoever would like to go first, the floor is open.
This is Katie. It's not really about my program, but I am really glad the event has been postponed, because I really feel right now all of our communities are just in survival mode. And so we're trying to get through the winter, and then the next expected, flu season. So to have that in September is just to kind of like let things diffuse, people get their vaccination, their shots. And, we need this time to celebrate. We need this time to have an honor and remembrance for all that we have gone through with education. And, just speaking of Juana Jose, she was there when I was still a baby in education. I mean, like I started young as a secretary in an elementary school, and she was one of the first names I remember. And she was constantly calling. She was always on the phone until I actually met her in person. I was like, oh, great! I finally make the connection from her face to her voice. But that's how outgoing she was with her position. And that was at the State Department, so she included us, and that was really important. Was just having her reach out, and the times were a lot different then. But I'd like to see and bring more parents and back to AIEA. So that's kind of my purpose, is to get the word back out to them, share the information with them, and build back AIEA up to the place where we were before. We were having student conferences, parent conferences, and they always ran in the hundreds, and so it'd be really nice to kind of get the word out more. We are at the capacity to reach media all across the state, so it's really good to see more involvement, and I'm really glad with that.
Hi, everyone. This is Alex Benavidez. I just wanted to give a program update on the program that we work on here at the University of Arizona called The Student's Journey for Donna Otham Community College students. we decided to extend the application deadline for students to be accepted into this year's program. We extended the date till, I believe, February 5th, and we understand that TOCC is starting up classes on Tuesday. So, we're looking forward to presenting to more classrooms, but we'd really appreciate it on our end if anyone knows anyone from TOCC or any students that would greatly benefit from this opportunity, to please share this with them. I'll include the link to our website with the application in the chat box, but I just wanted to say thank you for letting me be here today, and for letting me have this opportunity to share this with you guys. So thank you.
Thanks everyone for sharing. I'm just going to also put in the chat for Phoenix Union High School District. We will have available, I believe it was the 21st and 22nd, the 4 vaccination sites if you're in the Phoenix area for the second group of mostly, inclusive of K-12 educators or education staff. If you're interested, there will be 4 sites available. I did put the link in the chat as well. So if anybody wants access to the vaccinations, there's your opportunity. And just really quickly, our school board did approve a Navajo government course. And so we are looking at making our Navajo language and government classes available district-wide now. Currently, we've got Navajo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 available at 2 schools. That's 2 out of 21 though. So our goal is to make it available to all our students district-wide. And so that is, that's kind of where we're going. Our district is also, focusing on being more culturally responsive. We also, the board also approved a English 7-8, which is senior year English course from the Native American perspective. And so we're going through kind of that curriculum development now. So those are updates from our district. Thank you.
I'll just give an update from Arizona State University. We are doing blended learning. We do have students that are moving back into the dorms. We're offering classes both in the classroom and then some online, but basically we're back in session. And I think it's important to recognize that students that, none of us knew, I think, going into that fall semester what that would look like. They were already in classes, scholarships were already in place, FAFSA and all that was taken care of in the spring. And so what we had in the fall was a little bit of a different experience because we went into it under COVID-19, where in spring, everything was already in place. And so our numbers didn't really drop off. In fact, I think we had like a 2% increase, which was pretty small for our enrollment. But what we've come to understand is that not everybody's having a good experience with online. This whole debate that's happening at the K-12 level is also a question in higher ed. So for the most part, I think universities like ASU are sticking to offering classes, in person. That certainly requires a lot of social distancing and cleaning and all of the CDC requirements. And in some ways, I think we've done a good job of maintaining a bubble. Our students are safe, relatively safe. The only things where they're not safe is when they're not on campus. And sometimes, that kind of leads to, a higher infection rate, but the infection rate has been pretty low. They're just coming back. So I don't know what, we'll see what the next few weeks bring. But the only other thing I would share is that because we are seeing admissions is down for the spring semester. And part of my concern is that juniors and seniors are not getting the kind of access that they may have in terms of regular classes as far as access to guidance counselors. And so we are getting requests for virtual tours, campus tours, which Annabelle and our admissions office is handling, Annabelle Bowen. But I appreciate the information that was shared, on College Horizons. I do see that ASU is not a part of that. So we probably need to see if we can get on board, mainly because we are seeing drop-offs in terms of admissions altogether for the spring semester, but also we need to start, trying to keep our students on track. And we know there will be an academic lag as a result of this. And so how do we keep our students on track? And then last, I want to thank Kaylee for her comments as well, because I agree that, Juana, was really an instrumental part of the office, both her and Katie Stevens and others that were there at one time. But I appreciate everybody on this call and your commitment and investment in AIEA. It's needed, and so I appreciate all of your work. So thank you.
Jacob, as always, thank you. And I agree absolutely with Katie. So I do think this is a great start where we can begin to reach out to our educators and our parents and students as well, if they can come on a Friday. I know that there are a lot of charter schools that don't meet on Fridays and they do Monday through Thursday education. So why not reach out to those students? Just being on that national call with Kim, it just made me realize how actually easy it can be to reach out. We have to do the work to move forward, to contact and be like, hey, we're available. Whether it's perfect or not, we can always reach out, and making it available and getting our dates and our Zoom meeting out there, letting them know that we want their participation. Absolutely, we want the input as well. Just an update for Mesa Public Schools. We are starting school next week, but within our 81 schools that we have across Mesa, each one will be in a different learning mode, and that depends on the numbers on our dashboard of which school will be going 2 days a week, staying remote, or going in 5-day in person. So it depends on the school. I have a wonderful report. You know how difficult it is sometimes to introduce Indian education and make it available across the district. Well, in my case, that's how it was. This past week was the first land acknowledgement that was given at the administrators meeting. And so that was a wonderful way to reach a lot of the principals. And so I've been flooded with emails asking for a land acknowledgement as well. So I'm getting some staff trained on how to give that land acknowledgement. Like as in the beginning of our meeting, recognizing the first people who were here before us on this land and how to respect the land. So I did reach out to several of you and got your thoughts and input on that. And I also reached out to the and Autumn and Pipash elder on how to do that properly, and it worked out wonderfully. So I think this is a very first step for at a district level, and the next time it will be at the governing board as well. So hopefully that this will become a normal piece as part of recognizing the land itself. So I just think that's phenomenal. So hopefully you guys will get a chance to move forward in your areas as well, in your school district, schools, with parents, and across the board, and introducing Indian education. So, and I'm looking forward to absolutely bringing in more conversation on how this pandemic is affecting our students. What can we do as Indian education leaders to provide the tools for our students and our parents? How can we make them successful? And being able to reach out to our higher education departments. What do we need to do right now? Because now is the time. It's January. We only have a couple months left to move forward into next year. What can we do to encourage our students, and how do we reach out to them to make sure that they have those connections? So I will be reaching out to some of you on continuing. So many blessings. Thank you for letting me be here. Yeah.
All right, were there any other share outs before we come to a close?
Actually, I have something to share. So as a follow-up to our fall conference that we held in October, the Indigenous Determination, they're doing more of a district-wide conference this semester. And so it's kind of a collaboration between not just like the Native constituents or the groups, but it's also collaborating with the Asian Pacific Islander, the Black students, and the Latinx students as well, trying to combine all of the constituent groups. And they're doing another conference this semester, and it's gonna start with like a series. It's a student success workshop series, and we're gonna be doing Power Moves 2021 Maximizing Your College and Life series. And that's actually gonna be, it's gonna be 4 parts, I believe. And it's gonna be facilitated by Maricel Herrera. And she's this really awesome dynamic speaker. And she's gonna be talking about owning and leveraging the power you already have to succeed, game-changing moves to build a community of support, game-changing moves to stay motivated and turn setbacks into setups for success, and a personalized power pack plan for success. And then the larger conference is going to be held March 26th, and we're hoping to incorporate at least one speaker from our Indigenous Determination Conference in that. So it'll either be, you know, Kyle Mitchell, we had Indigenous Community Collaborative, and sorry, I forgot the last one, but I believe they were from Native Health. So we're going to have one of our speakers from there featured, I believe. So I don't have registration at this moment, but I believe by the next meeting I will, or maybe even before that. So I'll send it to Kim or Linan, and you can disperse that out. But yeah, we're hoping for another good turnout. We had a really great response to our conference last semester. And we had Daryl Tonema speak, and he was just amazing. And so we're hoping that to have that same sort of response this semester. So keep an eye out for that. But that'll be a Maricopa-wide offering. And I believe they're going to be offering it to the public again, just because everything's online again. So.
Thank you, Carissa. I was a part of the conference last semester, and I laughed through the entire time that Daryl spoke, because he's from Oklahoma, and just the stories he shared, I very well associated, especially through the tornadoes, and that was a funny story what he talked about. But all the speakers, I actually went into, you know, all the sessions were wonderful, but of course we could only select one during the times, and so I went into Kyle's session, and it was wonderful how he presented on Indigenous storytelling. But thank you for providing that update, and definitely when you get the registration information out, then just let us know, and we'll send it out to our membership. So thank you so much. All right, I'm looking on our participants. I think everybody that's still on the call has shared out already. And once again, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the meeting today. Again, we encourage you to just stay safe, mask up, and stay your social distancing protocols in place. And so thank you all for being a part of AIEA. We hope to see you at our next meeting, which will come February 19th. Again, it'll be through the Zoom. We'll send out the link and information. The link is always going to be the same. So the link for this meeting is going to be the same for the remainder of our AIEA virtual meetings. But please mark your calendars. It's the 3rd Friday of every month that we have scheduled. And that way you know that that's when we have our AIEA general meeting. So with that, if there are no other questions or no other share outs, then I would like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
That was too quick. No, just kidding. Is there a second?
Second.
A second.
Okay, everybody seconds. So all those in favor, thank you so much. Blessings to you on your journeys, and continue to do great work. We're so proud of you. So we'll adjourn at 1:07. So thank you so much. Take
Bye.
care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.